program, and they really want to get us ready for checkpoints everywhere, so you're on a pickup list, and you don't know, and you pull up, and they grab you, and you disappear. Right. And I want to warn the police and others. I mean, once it goes to this level, you're not going to have a very safe job. I'll tell you right now. And
that's right. Well, you know, I've talked to veterans already across the country, and they all say the same thing. They say, well, how do I know if I get pulled over by a police officer? How do I know it's a normal police stop, that it's not some black bag thing that'll be turned over to the Department of Defense and taken off to Guantanamo? And my answer now is, well, you know, right now they probably won't do that, but that's where we're headed. And like you said, once the first one is detained like that, every other veteran or every other American out there is going to be like, well, hey, I will not know. I'm going to assume the worst, and I'm going to resist. And a lot of them already told me that when that day comes and they see that they're actually in danger of being black bagged, they will not allow themselves to be handcuffed, even by a police officer, because they will not know.
Because the government is illegitimate. I mean, again, look at these quotes. Almost every comment here in the Orange County, and there's hundreds of them. What a dumb idea. Really a roadblock. Most people driving in Orange County have no clue to who is actually sitting next to them in a vehicle, let alone clues to who, some bum was, hacked to death in a dirty riverbed miles away. Here's another one. It goes on. Civil rights violation. This sounds like Nazi checkpoint with regular citizens having no rights. Do our police really believe they have gathered this much power that they can just start doing this? Yeah, their bosses who are criminals tell them to do this. This is perch testing. It goes on. Complete violation of Terry versus Ohio. And here's a minion. Kudos to the special task force. You're out in the community trying to get things done. Good job, guys. She probably works in the county. Your ignorance of your rights could not be more complete. Terror management theory at its best. And it just goes on with the comments. Almost no one buying any of this information. It seems to me that they are stopping people with hope of raising revenue. Yeah, they did do some arrest and sticker tickets while they were at it. It was all just a sickening excuse under federal ghoul control. I guess the feds weren't busy shipping guns out and little kids out of the country. It goes on to say, I do not think that they will uncover much stopping many people because they are in the area. Maybe I'm wrong. Is this even legal, a random checkpoint to interview potential witnesses? Seriously, no Fourth Amendment issues here. And it just goes on and 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 on. The good news is, Stewart, we're not buying it, are we?
No, and more Americans across the country are not buying it. And that's why we are different than the Germans. That's why it will not go the same way as Germany, that just slid into a dark tyranny with a little whimper. We will not go that
What about 3 million guns, 1.5 million plus instant checks in the month of December alone, breaking all records? I mean, there aren't even liberals anymore in this country that know how to talk. I mean, so-called liberals are all buying weapons and everything. I mean, what does the New World Order think they've done, Stewart? Every liberal I know is arming to the teeth and is waking up.
And we just had El Paso County, Colorado, pass a resolution against the NDAA. Nullifying it, and that's what has to happen across the country. And in fact, I'm going to a meeting this weekend in Topeka, Kansas, where we're bringing legislators and activists in from all over the country, and we're going to draft model resolutions and build on what was already done in El Paso County, Colorado, and spread the message of nullification at the local level, towns, counties, and states.
Yeah, it's happening, and the feds can say, well, that we nullify that. No, we nullify you. You work for offshore banks. You individually may not be a criminal, but you work for a system that's run by criminals. The heads of your organizations are mafia, organized crime, scum. You are illegitimate, and the republic is rising. We veto you. Hello, I'm Alex Jones. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of overdrive so I can get to the callers that have been holding the longest, like Rob and Sean and others. Stewart Rhodes is our guest. But look at another one of these comments here on the Orange County Register where they have giant Fed-run checkpoints searching and demanding answers from people about a serial killer miles away in some ravine stabbing homeless people weeks after. One of the commenters, Rick Marino, says, if you have any information, don't call. You might get, he mentions local police, you might get a better response calling Anaheim, or the FBI. I called the town more than 3 weeks ago when the video came out of the bank robbers asking for any information that someone might have. I left 3 messages for 2 different detectives, and never did they call me back or even a thank you, even though my info was good. Now, folks, I've called the Homeland Security numbers on air that they have on TV if there's terrorists. No one ever calls you. Or if you say, I know where terrorists are, they're like, okay, name a number. They never call you. I mean, I know that the heads of al-Qaeda meet at the Pentagon. I have all the documents. And they're just like, But even if you just say, I have information on terrorists, they don't call you back. It's all fake, and they know it. They know it. Austin's got tens of millions of dollars in the last decade, on $1.5 million robots. And they go out once a week and blow up a cardboard box on the highway in Ninny. And it's just all about milking us. It's just a total scam and a state of fear while the criminal city council robs everyone. I'm sorry, Stewart Rhodes, comments on this.
Well, no, you're right. It's like a disease, like a cancer that has spread, metastasized, and spread. And it's the same thing the founders faced, right? A swarm of officers sent out to eat away at their substance. I mean, everything that we're experiencing, they experience. That's why we should call people who want checkpoints and all of that should be called loyalists, and we should give them red coats as gifts. And that's their badge, because that's what they really are. They have rejected the republic. They've rejected the concept of freedom. They want to live like a third world dictatorship like North Korea. They should just go there and we should just call them what they are. They're totalitarians. They're loyalists. They would have been perfectly at home being a Tory back in 1775 and calling for the military trial of the American colonists and the rebels, and calling for the arrest of John Hancock and Sam Adams, and stuffing them away in a military brig. So that's what they are.
Or putting them on a prison ship to starve to death. Rob in Pennsylvania, You're on the air. Go ahead.
Very riveting discussion, and I was happy to hold and listen through it. I'd like to get to my points very quickly. Francis and Friends is a show normally hosted by Frances Swaggart, Jimmy Swaggart's wife. It's on the Sun Life Broadcasting Network, and I happened to be listening over the web. And yesterday, Donnie Swaggart, her son, was hosting, and on the show, he falsely proclaimed that Ron Paul is, quote-unquote, not a Christian and does not know the Lord Jesus Christ, and characterized Ron Paul as anti-Israel and pro-Muslim.
Well, is that because Ron Paul doesn't visit low-rent prostitutes?
And today's show was just as bad, with Donnie Swaggart characterizing Dr. Paul as a fruitcake and an alien from another planet.
Well, look, I don't know about all those guys, but the whole system is attacking Ron Paul. What does that tell you?
That's exactly right, and I'd like to say that I did my incremental part by posting these videos on YouTube under the title "Donnie Swaggart falsely proclaims Dr. Paul not a Christian." And there was another instance where Frances Swaggart was hosting a show, and she called you a traitor, Alex, wherein she said that she characterized you as a traitor for discussing America's problems with RT, and basically equating you going on RT with you traveling to Russia.
I know, that's a neocon outfit. I know there's some other groups been calling for my arrest because I do British and French and Japanese TV. I mean, it's just they're loyalist traitors, and they don't want me talking about the Republic. But whatever, I haven't heard those little discredited people, so good for them. We're looking at how tyrants always operate, Stuart, and they always say people that are criticizing them work for a foreign power. And they've got to take your rights and clap you in irons because you're not a patriot. But we're the people actually defending America and what made the country great. And it's so simple. We're fighting global banks that take over countries and then use false nationalism to play our countries off against each other. What would you say to the last caller before I go to Sean?
No, I've heard the same allegations made against you and also Ron Paul. I mean, Congressman Paul was a Christian. I used to work with the man. I used to work for him, and I can tell you that's he's a very principled, pro-life Christian, but he's a constitutionalist also, and he stands on the Constitution, and that's what all of these Roman 13s, twisting, obedient loyalist fake Christians don't like. They want obedience. They want submission, absolute submission to the state. That's why there's a really great book out right now by Chuck Baldwin on Romans 13 that I recommend.
Yeah, we've had him on about it.
Yeah, it's great. So you need to. That's the antidote to all that nonsense. But there are loyalists. There are loyalists.
Well, look, most of these churches are 501c3, and the feds tell them, you promote our agenda or you're going to lose it. They have the clergy response teams. I mean, it's like in China, the communists have a loyal church they allow to operate. It's the same thing.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, the best way to handle them is to boycott them, like the founders did. Shun them. Boycott them.
That's right. I mean, I see police now, and I walk over in a restaurant, whatever, and I say, how are you guys doing? Where do you stand on the Constitution and the Republic? They say, well, we stand with it. I go, good job, and shake their hand. But if they act weird, I go, oh, it's weird for a citizen to come over and talk to you. You ought to ask yourselves why you think that's weird. You ought to ask yourselves why me, the little slave, talking to you is weird. How has America gotten so weird that we're not supposed to communicate with each other? And it's time to get out of your shells, folks, or be put in a cell. It's time to get out of the shell or be put in a cell. Either hang together, hang separate. Let's go ahead and go to Sean in Tennessee, listening on WJOC, 1490 AM in Tennessee. Go ahead.
Alex, I love your show. I'm glad I finally get you here in Chattanooga. We have so needed this kind of information for a very long time now. I mean, you are truly appreciated here for all you do on this program to fight these globalists.
Thank you. God bless you.
And you're truly appreciated. And I'm also a big supporter and regular listener to another one you might be very familiar with on GCN, quite familiar with Pastor Butch Paul.
Oh, great guy. Need to get him on.
And he fights these exact same people you just mentioned, the 501c3s. But I have a question, if you don't mind, that relates to a super technology that the government uses to control the ionosphere and jet streams and weather patterns.
Talking about HAARP?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wonder, is this same technology used to possibly control people or political dissidents?
Well, yeah, I mean, they wouldn't use the big antennas for that, but they've got patented little small psychotronic things that they've used. There's actually been treaties on that with the Euro, the U.S., and Russia not to use it from 1979. Stewart, you want to get into any of the secretive weapons that you've read about or anything?
I mean, all I really know about is the same thing you've heard about. I don't really know much beyond that.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of these super high-tech weapons and stuff, it's all just bravado. It's all a system trying to... Look, the people that win wars are the people that don't stop fighting and who have right on their side, okay? Tyrants never succeed when people stand up against them. Take Gandhi. He spent 30 years just getting the Indians to have respect for themselves and to learn to stand up. And when they stood up, there was nothing the British Empire could do. Closing comments on that, Stewart Rhodes. Thank you so much, Sean.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, that's the great secret that they don't want you to realize. The truth is that you are, in the end, you hold all the power in your hands, and you includes the military and police, and that's why I started Oath Keepers, because they can't do it without them. And so that's why we should look towards what happened in 1989 in East Germany, like Gunther Spence talked about on your show, a mass stand down and a mass stand up by the people.
You know what, Stewart? I've already got a guest on the Nightly News tonight, but we might want to, either today or tomorrow, tape more about the police and the military's choice, because that's the most important part of this discussion, and I didn't even get into that. Maybe we should tape it, put it on the news tonight, and then air it tomorrow on the radio.